Welcome to Protea Conversations, the podcast where leadership in business and accounting isn't just discussed, it's explored. I'm your host, Zane Stevens, and thank you for joining me as we delve into the minds of some of the most influential leaders in the industry. Our journey is one of discovery, from unraveling the unique stories that shaped our guest careers to invaluable advice that fueled their success. We're here to provide you with simple, actionable advice to accelerate your career and personal growth. Whether you're a budding professional or a seasoned executive, these conversations are designed to offer insight and perspectives that resonate with everyone. So tune in, engage, and be inspired as we build better leaders together. Welcome to Protea Conversations.
Today on Protea Conversations, we're cutting through the noise and diving into the real story behind building a modern accounting business, one that ditches the tax season grind and focuses on what really matters to small business owners. I'm joined by Erin Pohan, founder of Upkeeping in Wave Seattle, a top 100 pro advisor, and someone who has on a mission to make accounting relevant, understandable, and absolutely not stuffy. From staff accountant to six-figure entrepreneur, Erin has built a thriving outsourced bookkeeping firm by doing things differently and doing them with heart. If you ever wonder what it means to grow your practice intentionally and authentically, this episode is for you. Erin, welcome to Protea Conversations.
Hi, Zane. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. And I sort of set this one up sort of on a little bit of a cheeky whim when I saw you said that people reached out and then dropped you at the last second. I was like, well, you know, Erin's a celebrity in the accounting space, so I'm just going to shoot my shot and hope for the best. And you said yes. So I got a little fortunate.
Well, I appreciate it. Yes. And you are referring to how I've been pitched for other podcasts. And once they realize I'm not a CPA, they actually take it back. And I had the same person reach out twice with the same situation. So I really appreciate the invite.
Yeah, for me, that's just the weirdest thing. One, I'm not a CPA, I'm a chartered accountant, so who cares, right? It's just a professional qualification. It doesn't really change it. And it is a little weird because I've been on podcasts called the CPA whatever, and I'm always started like, I am not a CPA, be aware of that. And they're like, oh no, come on and do it. But I do think I've had a worse situation than yours, is where I've actually gone on, recorded the podcast, and then the podcast my episode has never been released. So I'm either really boring or really terrible to listen to, and they've decided that it was not worth their time for their listeners to have me. So I hope that never happens to you.
Geez, new fear unlocked.
Luckily, I don't care. So I sort of just go,
yeah,
I got to talk about myself for an hour. That's fantastic. And practice always makes perfect.
Yeah,
so I'm
great
happy
practice.
to do that.
Yeah.
So great. Let's start right in the beginning. I always like to find out, why did you decide to become an accountant in the first place?
Yes. 20 years ago, I was working at a Walmart on customer service, like at the customer service desk, having people return boxes of bricks, pretending they were PlayStations, work through Christmas season. It was terrible. It was like my freshman year of college. And right after that crazy busy season, they said, hey, there's an opening in the accounting office. And it's right here behind this locked door where you don't have to see people. And I love people.
Yep.
So it says a lot that I was ready to go behind that door and just work somewhere where I could focus on my tasks, get them done, and then leave. And so I actually started in an accounting office in a Walmart in Virginia. And I was going to school as a marketing major at the time. And so working in this accounting office and then taking a prereq accounting 101 course and realizing I was the only one in my class who was like, I get this. This feels good. I enjoy it. I made the switch right there that semester to go full force into accounting. And so from then, I continued working within the accounting sphere. I worked in private accounting and then eventually in public accounting.
Let's just stop there before we get into the career, because that is, I think that's pretty intriguing. I don't think I've heard too many people ever say, hey, I've started off in a creative space and then decided to become an accountant. That's pretty unique. I mean, I like accounting, but nobody's ever going to accuse me of being creative. So like, that's a fairly large mindset shift from a marketing world to an accounting world. And you just sort of went in and flipped the switch and you're like, let's go for it?
Yeah, it unlocked something in my brain that made sense. And truly the only reason I went into marketing was because I took an entrepreneurship class in high school and loved it. I killed it. We had this huge project where we had to develop a product and market it and sell it to our classmates. And I developed Axe before Axe was a thing. And I still remember to this day, it was called Men's Athletic Cleanser. And it was like special grip so it wouldn't fall in the shower. And we called it Mac, and the commercial was Get Your Mac On. And it was just really fun to like go through the experience of creating a product and selling it. And so that's why I thought marketing was for me. It wasn't until those accounting courses where I felt like the idea of balance and making sure that data was telling a story really resonated with what I wanted to do. So now I get to do marketing within my own firm. And so I get to do both aspects.
I mean, that is great. I guess it does sort of set up for where you're going to go. You started off with the influence of the entrepreneurship, and now you're an entrepreneur. Let me get you back to your story and tell us sort of how. So walk us through that career. What did it look like where you got started? I did notice that you worked for a couple of firms with some really long last names thrown in there, which I chuckled. I was like, is that an attorney firm or an accounting firm?
So Brown, Bench, Wright, and McLeod, I was a receptionist for them. So I had to answer the phone. Brown, Bench, Wright, and McLeod. And it was like really hard that first month to remember all of their names. But no.
They would fire me in the first month because I would mess that up every time.
I was like, BBWM, can I just say that?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think that works either.
But that was such a beautiful experience. And that was really my first introduction to public accounting. It was a small firm in Yuma, Arizona. So at this point, I had married a Marine and we were living kind of all over the country. We were at our first 3-year duty station. And so I took a chance on submitting my application to be a receptionist at this firm, knowing they might not accept it because I was a military spouse. I was only there for a little bit and then I would be moving on. They accepted me. I started as a receptionist. I was going to school for my bachelor's at this point in accounting. As I completed my bachelor's, they gave me more experience. They started giving me bookkeeping work. This was back in 2012, 2013. I did a huge migration of data from their old legacy accounting software to QuickBooks Desktop. So that was really where I got my introduction to QuickBooks and the QuickBooks ecosystem. We migrated probably 50 to 75 clients, creating their chart of accounts, entering their year-to-date payroll history, all of that information, really just a super manual data migration process, entering the trial balance as of a certain date. And it was great. It was the experience I needed. And so about 2 years into working there, I found out we were moving to Japan. So that was a little tricky. Obviously, being in the military lifestyle, there's times where careers go on pause. And so I decided at that point to pursue my master's. So I did my master's online with an American university while living in Japan. And I received that. I also worked for a nonprofit while I was out there just to keep up with my QuickBooks experience. And then we came to Philadelphia and I worked for another CPA firm. We called it CPA Philly, so a lot easier to say. And they were great. They were so fun. They were huge Eagles fans, and the Eagles won the Super Bowl that season. And so it was just really fun to be included and feel like a team member and just do a lot of the bookkeeping. I actually did a lot of tax correspondence for them as well. So that was some good experience as well.
Yeah. Talk about life in Japan. That must have been different from living in military bases all over the US to then also now you find yourself in Japan with different culture, different lifestyle.
Yes, Japan is beautiful. The people are beautiful. The food is amazing. It's clean. It's fresh. No preservatives. We were the only Americans that were living in our neighborhood, which was really unique. Most of our friends lived on the military base. We were able to not live on the military base, and we got to know our neighbors. We got to speak to them just enough to understand what each of us were trying to say, confused our other neighbors into thinking we knew more Japanese than we actually did. But everyone's just so beautiful and accepting there. And we were just outside of Tokyo, so we spent our weekends getting lost in Tokyo.
Really nice, yeah. I've got good memories of Japan. I went there when I was 12. At that point in time, I was living out of a hotel room and eating McDonald's pretty much every meal. As a 12-year-old, that's what made sense to me.
Japanese McDonald's are amazing. They're like picture perfect.
I mean, I don't think McDonald's existed in South Africa at that point, so it was a big thing for a 12-year-old. Like, oh wow, this is amazing, so quick, so easy, so tasty. So it was quite the experience. Somewhere I definitely want to go back and experience. We couldn't go to Tokyo though at that time because there was a flu epidemic at that point. So the reason we're there got moved to Kyoto. We spent basically the whole trip in Kyoto before leaving the country.
Wow, yeah, Kyoto is beautiful as well, but you definitely need to get back and experience the magic of Tokyo.
Yeah, definitely on the list. Just need to convince the family about it. So studying remotely like that, how was that experience? I mean, I'm a person who went to college, studied, got finished, went and started a job, and I couldn't comprehend people who work part-time and study. I can't sort of think about studying remotely that way. Like it's very difficult for me to make sense of, and I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that also like, how did you do it? Just walk me through that. I mean, maybe more people understand now because we all went through 2020, but it does still feel like quite a difficult way to get your education.
It was terrible. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was just one of those seasons where it was really hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel and to get through it. Each course, there was just so much work involved, and so much discipline, which I will say that discipline has helped me in my own firm to just keep up on tasks and just own the responsibility of getting deadlines met. So I do love it for that. I would prefer to go in person. I didn't have that opportunity, but I would say the way I got through it was just taking it piece by piece, literally week by week. I'm not going to look at that big portfolio milestone assignment until, I need to. I'm going to focus on the 7 discussion questions that need to be done this week and read my reading.
So you were in public accounting, no desire to become a CPA?
Yes, actually, technically, I just had my 1 quarter of my CPA expire last month. So I did have a desire. For a long time, I did. I started my CPA journey when we moved here in 2019. So I'm in Seattle, Washington. And I really was just waiting until my husband was out of the military because of the state requirements and licensure requirements. I needed to know where I was going to be licensed. So we got here. I started my journey. I passed reg right off the bat. And then I could not pass auditing, which is hilarious because it was my best subject in school in both bachelor's and master's. I totally understood it. It made sense to me, but the actual test itself was just too gray. The answers were too gray for me. They were not black and white. So after 3 attempts, I got really mad at the AICPA for taking all my money. So I said, forget it. At this point, I'm already running a firm. I'm not doing taxes. My clients trust me. They know me. And so I have let it go. And I go back and forth with it. It's not a forever no. I could do it again. I could take reg again and try to pass all the 4 sections. So we'll see. But at this point, it's more of a pat on the back for me than anything.
Yeah, I sort of feel that, I get asked that question regularly. Like, hey, why don't you just become a CPA in the US? You're a chartered accountant, right? You should be able to pass. I'm like, probably. It would still be a lot of work, but I don't see the need for it. Like, I don't plan to sign financials. I honestly don't need the pat on the back. Like, I don't need that, justification of like, hey, Zane, well done, like in my life. So I've looked at it a few times and just been like, I'm okay. I don't need that. And it is always an interesting one because it is a great achievement when you get it and people should be proud of it. But if you're not going to be in public practice, then who cares, right? There is a little bit of, do I really need it if I want to do what I'm doing right now?
Yes. And, a lot of it's mindset too. I used to have those awkward moments where people just assumed I'm a CPA and then I'd feel a certain way, like, oh, I have to correct them. This feels weird, but not anymore. It's just, nope, I'm not a CPA and I'm okay with that. So, and if they're not, then they're not. And that's not, anything that I need to be concerned about.
Yeah. And I think part of that as well is when you put yourself out there, you put yourself on social media, you start talking to other accountants, you realize how many of like the big names in the sky actually aren't CPAs. There obviously are a lot of them that are, but there's a lot that are just these super successful entrepreneurs and successful in the accounting world. And you're like, some of them like, do you even have an accounting qualification? Like, no, just sort of self-taught. You're like, oh, amazing.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by that. There's a few people that has just really encouraged me, honestly, that, they've been able to be so successful without it, and good for them.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. If you put your mind to it, put the application in like you did, studying, remotely from Japan, how much you can achieve just with a little bit of hard work and determination.
And honestly, the only thing stopping people from doing what they want to do in this industry is their own mindset and their limiting beliefs. So
yeah, true. So you went on and you did start your own business, but before we got there, there is this like stop in your resume that I wanted to jump into a little bit, because I love the education of accounting and understanding it and help people understand it and try to give people the basics. And you had this short stint, almost 3 years, of developing accounting training. Like, talk me through that.
Yeah, I stumbled on this very luckily, I would say. So I was able to work with a group called Freedom Learning Group right from the beginning of its existence. And their mission originally was to give military spouses jobs that they could actually move with. And so what they were looking for were qualified and experienced military spouses to become subject matter experts in their respective fields. So I was able to hop on and help in the accounting sphere to work with world-renowned publishers and universities to develop test banks, to revise test banks. But I think the greatest accomplishment through that was creating upper graduate level university courses from scratch for universities, and learning that that is a marathon. It takes a lot of time and effort and thought to produce high quality content. Mm-hmm. And it is such a tangible way to just help be the difference for the future of accounting, and to make courses that, like you mentioned before, our mission is being relevant and understandable. I wanted to make courses relevant and understandable.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand how difficult it is to make courses. I did a short stint as an accounting high school teacher, and building out a lesson plan to make somebody who is basically in the class because they have to be able to understand that information, at least to a point where they're able to pass, is extremely difficult. But it is a great way to be able to test your knowledge, because, as that saying goes, if you can make the most incompetent person at the subject understand it, then you probably really have mastered the subject, because you can explain it to somebody who has no knowledge at all. And that's effectively what you're doing when you're doing a training course, because you're getting people walking in going, I don't know any of this stuff. Teach me the basics. Let me understand, pull me through it. And that ability to go from simple to medium to hard as you're building out a course is really difficult. And I can imagine it took a ton of time, effort, concentration, everything that you think about when you're building. Think about how long it takes for people to write books. This is the same thing, just on a specialized content where you can't make pretty pictures. You got to try convince people that this subject matter is real and relevant.
Yes, and the most recent course I created finished at the end of beginning of 2024. And with the introduction of AI, it was so challenging to create thought-provoking discussion questions that students weren't just going to plug into ChatGPT to get an answer. So that's another layer of complexity that's new, but I still think it's fun, and I do hope to create more courses in the future.
Yeah, I can't even imagine the difficulties around that, and having to build courses to sort of break the AI trend. I guess maybe you all need to move to oral exams from now on rather than written exams, where the system can easily be broken. But that's quite a fun stop. I'm assuming it added a lot of value to your life, being able to build courses like that.
Yes. And I was able to also jump over to the project management side by the end of it. So I was able to actually do the interviewing and find my teams to do the actual work for building the test banks and revising some of the supplemental information. So that was really great to learn how to lead a team. And that's something I took into Upkeeping.
Incredible. So 2021, as your bio says, you woke up and decided you're going to be an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, not even a little bit. I saw a Facebook ad for the Ambitious Bookkeepers, 3-day bookkeeping business workshop. And I was like, let's just see what this is about. and took it. And I think by the end of the 3 days, I had a business name and a website. And yeah, I had my first client was through Upwork. And by the end of that first year, I think I had like 40K. Yeah, 40K in revenue. So I had started in March, and by December, 40K in revenue, which was really cool.
And you have one of the most interesting accounting websites that anybody would see. I definitely recommend every person go to upkeeping.co and give it a look. Definitely not your traditional bookkeeper website. Nothing like my boring old black, white, green website. This is sparkly, shiny, lots of great information, packed full, tells you exactly what Erin is doing for her clients. Just a fantastic website. So go check that out. But talk us through your journey at Upkeeping, sort of going on 4 years in business now, just a little over. How's it been?
Thank you for the website compliment. That is my good friends in LA who are way cooler than I am. So that is a huge compliment. Upkeeping started in 2021. So we are a little over 4 years into running it. Where we are today is a very small team. I have 3 part-time W-2 employees who help me. They're all here in Washington State, and we serve just about 50 clients at this point. We will finish this year somewhere between 250 and 3K revenue. So it's been really fun to see that number just continue to grow, although I think year 4, year 5 will probably be the hump unless I make some changes, which I haven't decided. It's kind of fun. I talk a lot about entrepreneurial accounting. Like I mentioned, I loved entrepreneurship from the get-go. So the aspect of working on the business instead of in the business is really fun for me. So yeah, there's a million different paths I can take from here. And I'm just trying to figure out which ones align best with, our lifestyle. I've got 2 kids at home, and the whole goal was to be home with them. And as of January, my husband's a stay-at-home dad now. So it's been amazing to just be able to support my family and, have it be my time to support the family.
No, that's exceptional. Good growth through that period of time, especially with a small team. Clearly happy with what you've created, which is always great to hear as well, and put you in a good situation to support your family, which is even better. I think most of us, when we get into starting our own firm, we're looking for that little bit of freedom. We're looking for that little bit of flexibility. We're looking for something that makes us happy. And if we tick those boxes, I think we're doing a great job.
Exactly. Yes. And going on vacations.
Those are always nice. Talk to me about sort of your client base. Who do you look after? What does it look like?
Yes. So we are not niched. We don't work with a certain industry. I'm still figuring that out 4 years in. I had thoughts of going into e-commerce specific. However, obviously with recent events with tariffs, I put a little bit of a pause on that thought process. The whole entrepreneurial mindset for years 1 through 3 really related to, I'm going to take whoever wants to work with me because I don't know if I can get my own clients. And that was a total lie. If anyone is listening and you think you can't get clients, there are so many opportunities out there for you to find clients that really align with what you want to do and what brings you joy in life. And so I've worked through that. And I think year 4 is really just working with clients that, when I'm working on their books, I find joy in helping them.
Well, you're niching with good people then. That works for me. I think, sometimes even me, who's somebody who loves a niche and focuses pretty heavily on a niche, I think we all get a little too caught up in the hype around it. And sometimes there's room for generalists as well, people that will take up anybody. And I say that tongue in cheek. You could easily argue that your niche is entrepreneurs, right? Like you can spin it however you like, really.
Yeah. I mean, you've already claimed all the winemakers, which, that's pretty brilliant. So,
we're trying to help those guys out as much as possible.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. Washington's always a fun place to come up and talk to winery owners as well.
Yes.
So going in year 5, any major plans or goals for the business?
Not yet. I go to conferences to figure out what's next. So I just left Scaling New Heights and I realized that I'm not where I want to be with quality work. I came home and I'm looking behind my screen as this whiteboard where I've got a Post-it note for every client. in 3 different columns of where they've landed as far as how I feel about their account right now. So Scaling New Heights showed me I need to improve on workflows and just client communication. And so that's being really vulnerable and honest about where Upkeeping is, but that's what I want to focus on for the rest of the year. Now we have a few more conferences that I'm sure I'll get more ideas from, but I call it the conference afterglow. After each conference, I want to take something that's going to be impactful for Upkeeping, but really big goal, the accounting industry in general.
Yeah. And I mean, focusing on quality and processes is always important. It's a continuous exercise in any firm. We've been around over 11 years and we're constantly relooking at it, making adjustments, bringing in new roles, changing roles to make sure that we're providing the quality service. So it is something that is always top of mind for anybody who's thinking of starting an accounting firm, but really like tying in those processes make a big difference because it makes everybody's life a little bit easier if we know what we're doing when we're doing it. So that's a great goal and glad you got that of Scaling New Heights. Definitely a lot of talk around. I was there last year, a lot of talk around process. It is critical. It is important. So, I think it's a great goal to set for the remainder of the year.
Thank you.
What other conferences are you attending this year?
Getting ready to go to Bridging the Gap, which blew my mind last year. And then I have my ticket for Intuit Connect as well.
Okay. So we've got a chance to meet in person at Intuit Connect then.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I would, even though I tell myself every year I'm not going back, I will be there again.
Oh, that's so true.
And it's not because of the conference, it's because of the location. I am not a Vegas fan. So
yeah, I run away early every year so far. So I get it.
Yeah, I'll definitely do my minimum drop in, drop out. But I always learn a lot. The same as you, have that afterglow. I think my team hates it when I go to conferences of any sort because I do come back with a really big list of things I want done. And I think they all take it as Zane wants it done now, which is not quite the truth, but I can see how it can come across. I can be a little impatient at times.
That's awesome.
What is the plan? How do you plan on working on these goals? Are you pulling your team in? Is this sort of everything on Erin? Like, what is the process going to look like to make these improvements for the remainder of the year?
I'm really fortunate to have a team that sees me reaching a point where I can't see it, but they can see that I need help. And they say, Erin, let me help you. And so I reached a really critical point of burnout earlier this year, and my team asked me to bring them in. And so we ended up having an internal retreat day where we pulled up every single client. I went through, okay, this is what we're doing for this client. And the team members said, okay, I can take that. So we have this beautiful document that just really pieces out the work that can be delegated. So much from that one day was lifted off of my plate. And so I just want to continue to have those days. We'll probably have one more team retreat here in the next few months. And also just in terms of automation, just making sure that we can automate. I'm in the process of reevaluating our general ledger platform. And so I've made the call that we will start working on Count, which is a new platform, and it's not there's one that with a Q. This is COUNT. And so they are like an accounting task plus GL times AI is how I would describe them. And so I don't know if you're familiar with like Keeper. Keeper takes so much accounting feedback into their model. Yep. And so I've been working with the Count team to provide feedback, and it's been just really cool to see these real-time updates they're making on a weekly basis. And it's an exciting time because as heavily as I have used Intuit products over the last decade plus, recent events tell me that maybe Intuit is not necessarily for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can sort of see how a lot of people feel that way. We constantly relook at technology, and generally speaking, our conclusion still comes Intuit is probably the best place to be until somebody else proves us otherwise. But we'll continue to look at them. Digit is the next one I'm looking at. I think I have a call with them next week to look at their new platform. So, we'll continuously look at it. We've tried other platforms and slashed them pretty quickly. There's another platform that color is blue that we have decided that is not a part of our tech stack. And never will be a part of our tech stack because we just do not like what they do. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It really doesn't help the wine industry. But then we also work on some larger ERP systems as well. So we sort of get the importance of that, like NetSuite. So you got to continuously look and adjust and evolve. And that is one of the things that you'll learn about being a business owner, is that the only thing that is ever the same is that nothing is ever the same.
Yes. And you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah. And you just got to keep assessing, keep talking to people. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. You can definitely come back and say, hey, these are my untouchables. For us, that's carbon. That's pretty much our only untouchable in our stack. The rest of them, if there's a better option, we will make the move, even though it can be tricky or difficult at times.
Yes.
Yeah. That's it's one of the things that I've tried to keep front of mind, is always review your tech stack on a regular basis. If you want to stay relevant, if you want to keep moving forward, making sure you have good technology that works, not just the shiny objects, because there's a lot of shiny objects out there.
Sure are. Just walk around the exhibit halls.
Normally, the ones that are got a ton of staff on it, run away. They're trying too hard. Run away. But yeah, that is interesting. I'd love to hear about that software as you dig a little further into it. It's always good to hear what people are saying. I know in one of the WhatsApp groups I had, there was a long discussion about different general ledger platforms the other day. I silenced it because it was too much for me. I was like, I can't deal with this today.
Yes. The beauty of silencing.
For sure. Another thing I want to talk about is you running this busy business. You have young kids. You've got your husband you have to look after because he's bored and doesn't know what to do with himself now that he's a house husband.
Except he's so busy. I don't understand, but yes.
Yeah, I was a house husband for about 4 months. I was also always busy. My house was spotless. Food was always cooked. And I was exercising 3 times a day. It was fantastic. But so you fill the gaps.
It's the life for me now.
Yeah, exactly. Fill the gaps pretty quickly. But you did take on another venture, which was a conference.
Yes.
Wave Seattle. And the first one was this year, correct? Tell me about that and how did that happen?
So that was my Bridging the Gap 2024 Afterglow. When I left Bridging the Gap, I was just so filled. And I had this moment at Bridging the Gap where I felt like I was this small fish in a small fishbowl about to break out of it. And I think it was just the idea of, we need more events like this, but I'm tired of traveling to Orlando or Vegas. If someone here in the Pacific Northwest were to put something on, like me, surely people would come out of the woodwork and they would attend. And so It was really just a testament to, number one, showing up on LinkedIn. I had started showing up in the beginning of 2024, end of 2023. That was my QuickBooks Connect Afterglow 2022. So again, like I talk about the butterfly effect of just entrepreneurship and how one thing leads to another. And so because I had started showing up on LinkedIn, when I put this idea out into the world to host this micro conference, so many people were so supportive and reached out and wanted to sponsor, to speak, to attend. And then I was like, okay, I think we can do this. And so really, I got sick in November. I thought November was going to be the calm before, tax season storm, because even though we don't do taxes, we stay very busy during tax season. And so November was supposed to be this calm piece where I can focus on workflows and, all the things I'm still wanting to focus on. And I got very sick with a mystery illness. Basically, something was lodged in my throat. To this day, I still have something lodged in my throat, but no one can figure out what it is. But I could not speak for 2 weeks, and they had me on this antibiotic that gave me insomnia for the 2 weeks. And I planned the entire event in the middle of those nights, and not even sure if I was fully awake. But either way, I had an Excel sheet with all of the details, my budget, and I have worked with event activation clients within Upkeeping. So I had a bit of the intel of what a budget would look like. One of my clients specifically activated events with Sports Illustrated and Amex and Victoria's Secret. And so I was reconciling their $800,000 budgets for, one night events and Comic-Cons. And so it was nice to have a bit of that experience when I was creating my own budget, and to also kind of foresee the different things that would be an expense for that day. But the event was in May. It ended up being around 70 women in accounting. And the ironic thing is they flew in from 10 different states and Canada. So it wasn't even just a PNW specific event, just an event that obviously was needed. And we had a bunch of really great sponsors who supported the event and showed up. to share about their businesses on the day. And we had great speakers. We had Brittany Malador, Twyla Verhelst, and Hannah Smolinski. We also ended the day with a live podcast for the ambitious bookkeeper and workflow queen, which was really fun, as they both have been very instrumental in my journey.
Two pretty big personalities to throw in there on a podcast. So always good.
Yeah.
So I assume you walking away going, that was a success?
It was amazing. I sat for the rest of that weekend with the dumbest smile on my face. It was just, and I tell people, I could have gotten up on the stage, fallen flat on my face, and it still would have been a perfect day. Yeah, it was just the women who came into the room. It was the energy, and it was just the conversations. And really, for me, what it was is it could be really lonely in this industry to do it yourself. And so knowing that connections were made, that people can not feel so alone in what they're building or trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lonely space being a firm owner, especially, a solo that does it by yourself. Even if you have a team around you, at the end of the day, you're the person who has to make the decisions, right? And that's a lonely circle to sit in, and there's a lot of pressure around it. So yeah, finding those opportunities to connect, finding those opportunities, what I like to say, the real opportunities, the vulnerable opportunities to share ideas with people. Yeah, I do sometimes have this little, when I go to these events and we're all there to learn, and you're sitting at the lunch table and everybody's like, oh, my firm is doing amazing and this and that. I'm like, if it's so great, like, why are you? Like, let's be honest, guys. Like, I'm here because I've got some issues I want to solve. Like, I'm not here because if I was, I'd be, trying to get on that stage and explain to you all how to do better. But, we all have problems to solve. So let's be honest about it. Let's have real conversations about it. And if you can create that at a conference, you're winning.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite moments, we had this peer strategy session where we just deep dived into two problems. One problem was the never-ending circle of capacity versus hiring, and when are the right points for both. And the other one was around loneliness. And so one of the ladies was just very vulnerable in sharing how lonely it has been to run her firm. I resonated with that because earlier this year, I had this moment where I just was crushed by an employee of a client. And I remember just staring out my window, and I picked up my phone and I was just like, who do I call? Like, I can talk to my husband. He's the most supportive human being for me, but he just doesn't understand the complexity related to the firm ownership. And it was just a moment where it was like a deep sadness that I just didn't know where to turn.
Yeah, those can be tough moments. I'm very fortunate I work with my wife. So, there's that always helps a little bit. But there's definitely conversations that I can't have with her because they're my problem at that point in time. But it's nice to have an understanding person who at least knows what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. And I will say from that moment, it really spurred me to find my people. So I'm in a weekly call with two very dear friends now that are also firm owners that I can bring my really hard stuff to, or I can text them on a dime and just tell them what's going on. And so I encourage anyone listening to find your people. And that is, I think, the most proud part of just putting Wave on was I think I helped people find their people.
Yeah, that's great. Wave Seattle 2026?
Yes. Yeah. So working on a date. I have a meeting tomorrow with the venue. And then I'm hopefully releasing that news at Bridging the Gap. So stay tuned.
Fantastic. And a bunch of really good speakers in that first year. So I'm excited to see who you can drag to that in 2026 to make it a better event. I'm a big fan of Hannah specifically. We've had her on Protea Conversations before, and she's fantastic, and things she's achieved is incredible. So I'm excited to see what your conference for next year brings. I'll stare from a distance, watch you from California, and I hope that 70 becomes 140 or 700 or whatever that goal is, and that you keep pushing through. And, I think these events where people can find connections are critically important.
I agree. And thank you.
So connections are important outside of sort of these conferences, and you've got your close group. How else do you find connections in this world of accounting, in this world of entrepreneurship? Like where should people be looking for that?
I am such a proponent for social media. I have just found such a community just by showing up on LinkedIn and just posting and being, real and not trying to make like cheesy business rhetoric posts, but just sharing, real life situations, or asking questions, just staying curious and inviting people to share their stories or opinions on different aspects.
Yeah, I mean, social media can get a bad rap, but if you can find your people in social media, it's a good place to find them. I've met a lot of great people, got a lot of good advice, had a lot of great conversations like the one I'm having right now. I mean, I wouldn't know Erin if it wasn't for social media, and we have this opportunity to talk today. So good place to start for anybody who is a little uncertain, or is like me and doesn't really like to be around people. It's a good place to connect with people without having too much interaction, which is fantastic.
Yes. And then in-person opportunities I've found locally are just through local chambers and then other local networking groups. I haven't done like the BNI groups. Those never work out because I can never imagine meeting at like 6:30 or 7 a.m., but I hear good things about those too.
Yeah, I'm in a Provisor group. I have a meeting tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. It's a virtual one, so I don't have to be anywhere, but my home group is a good 45-minute drive away from me, first Friday of every month, and I'm there at 7 o'clock to interact with some people that are in the community and that are generally really great referral partners. So that is a good place to look for them, but each for their own. I know BNI would never work for me once a week with all that homework. Not my style.
Yeah, not a fan of homework.
No, I've got enough work. I don't need anything extra added to it.
Yeah.
So what are the goals for the business? We've got the short-term goals. We're going to improve the process. We're going to improve the quality. We're working on our conference for next year, but what's the bigger picture? What's the plan for Erin and Upkeeping?
Part of the reason I started showing up on LinkedIn was not only to just help be a contribution to the accounting industry with my voice, but also to help establish Upkeeping as a brand so that one day I can retire and sell it and live in Italy. That's the plan. So yeah.
Not a terrible plan.
Yeah. So honestly, I would love to get Upkeeping to a point where it is self-sufficient. I am a removable CEO. And when the timing is right, I sell it and can really benefit off of the proceeds from it. So I would say I'm pretty far away from that, but you just never know. I never would have guessed that I would be where I'm at today just 4 years in.
Yep. No, it's things happen quickly, and when you're doing the right things and pushing the right buttons, you never know what happens, and maybe that retirement is closer than you think.
That's exciting. I'm like thinking of all the wine. I was hoping you would ask me what my favorite wine was. It's Chianti, only because I love wine with food. Like a good pairing just is heaven.
I am the worst wine person in the world because I rarely drink wines. I tell my clients that as well. I love wine and I will drink it, but I have been spoiled with some very good, very expensive wine, which makes it that most of the wine that I like, I'm not willing to pay for. So that's why I drink it so infrequently now.
Well, that's a good reason.
But I still, a lot of my clients have great wine, and I actually have 18 bottles lying on the floor, actually shipped from some clients on a regular basis. We'll just reach out and buy some of their wine just to show that we support them. So
I love it.
We got
That's
that because
so great.
we have a family day. The US team are getting together this Saturday. So we're going to take a couple of bottles out for our picnic and make sure everybody can enjoy some of our clients' wine.
Amazing. That's so great.
Erin, what advice do you have for anybody who is looking to start their own practice?
I would say just do it. Just do it. Don't try and wait until you have a perfect plan. I understand that a lot of people have constraints around finances or around health insurance, and that's totally understandable, whether you have to wait until you have a certain side hustle revenue or amount of clients. Totally get that. However, I think a lot of people who are in corporate or working for someone else wait and kind of talk themselves out of starting a firm because they start thinking of all the logistics. And really, I think the biggest piece, and I mentioned it before, is you think you're not going to find clients and you just have to put yourself out there. And sometimes you can't really put yourself out there until you've removed your current day job from the picture.
Yeah. And, you guys can go listen to the episode of Taylor Hartman. He breaks out how he started his firm while he was working another job, just on the side, and got the hustle going. So it's doable if you want to make it happen. So yeah, just go do it. The one thing to remember, accounting is super low risk. If it doesn't work out, I promise you're getting another job. Like it's not like you're unemployable after that. Like nobody's going to care. the jobs are
Yeah.
available.
That's such a good point. And, anyone who's listening and considering, like, start following some of these people and listening to their journeys. I love listening to the different podcast interviews of people like Taylor, just to hear how he grew Celerity so quick, and it's just always encouraging to hear the origin stories, because it makes you think, I can do this.
Yeah, there's motivation out there if you want to find it. And we're lucky enough to be speaking to Erin today, who's giving us motivation to just get started and take some big leaps of faith, like starting our own conference and totally stretching yourself too far, but all in sort of the idea of creating something that isn't stuffy and something that is authentic. And I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate the conversation we've had today. One thing we like to do as we sort of end these conversations, I'd love to just hear something about you that is not work related, outside of the ordinary. What do you do in your spare time? A little bit of your family, just to give us a little bit of insight into who Erin the person is.
So let's see, next month starts the NFL season. I am a huge Cleveland Browns fan, which no one understands because you haven't grown up in Cleveland, but it's just something that sticks no matter where you go. So I have been known to fly in for the home opener from Seattle for just 48 hours, sit on the 50-yard line, watch the game, and go back home. It's just really fun and also heartbreaking at the same time. And in our spare time, we have a boat here in Seattle. We like to go out on Lake Union and just hang out, and I play the violin.
Very interesting and very unfortunate about the bear situation, but I landed in the Bay Area, so I've got to inherit a pretty decent football team, which I'm very fortunate about. Supporting the 49ers might be just as painful as supporting the Browns. Like, at least the Browns know they're not going to win. The 49ers hope they're going to win and then don't. So
wow.
That
Truth.
is just as painful. It's maybe even worse. My mental state at times can be really affected by their lack of finishing in the big moments.
Yeah.
Great. Last part of Protea Conversations is rapid fire questions. I have 5 questions for you if you're ready.
Let's do it.
What is your dream vacation?
Man, Africa. I just want to go so bad. It's been on my list, and I would just love to go. I found out through 23andMe that I'm 20% Congolese. And so I thought that would be really cool to just check out West Africa and just see where some of my ancestors are from.
Do you prefer audiobook or paperback books?
Audio. I do like paperback, but in a season of multitasking, and if I can fold my clothes, like my laundry, while listening to a book, it's great.
Fair enough. My wife's method of listening to books as well, doing the laundry and ignoring everybody around her while she listens to an audiobook.
I actually shut my husband out of the room the other day. I closed the door and said, I need to listen to my book.
Fair enough. If you only had 20 minutes to exercise, what would that exercise be?
Well, it used to be running. In 2022, I actually broke my elbow while running. And so sadly, I just haven't been able to pick it up again. So I would probably just do a brisk walk at this point down by the beach.
What is your favorite piece of technology that makes your life easier?
Piece of technology that makes my life easier. I mean, is iPhone 2 general?
It's the number one answer for that question on Protea Conversations.
I wanted to be more original. I know I'm going to think of one later, but okay, we'll go with iPhone.
I like it. Last question. When you were growing up, what was your favorite meal?
Hamburger. Every restaurant we went to from age 0 or whenever I could eat at a restaurant to probably 12, I would get a hamburger. I don't know why. It was the weirdest thing. I love pizza. I still love pizza to this day, but growing up, I was consistently a hamburger girl.
You have a favorite fast food hamburger that you enjoy?
I'd have to say McDonald's. Just like they're simple. It's terrible for you. I don't eat it a lot, but when I do, it's just like it hits the spot.
All right. Erin, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming on Protea Conversations.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And with that, we ended another Protea Conversations. Thank you for joining us in this journey of learning and inspiration. Today we've gained insight from our guests and taken another step towards understanding the diverse tapestry of leadership in business and accounting. Remember, each conversation is a step towards the positive transformation of business leaders. We hope our discussion has given you valuable takeaways to apply in your own career and life. Don't forget to subscribe to Protea Conversations on YouTube and Spotify so you never miss an episode. We'd also love to hear your thoughts and experiences, so connect with me on social media channels. I'm most active on LinkedIn and would love you to join the conversation. Join us next time for more engaging stories, advice, and conversations that matter. Until then, keep striving for excellence, embracing growth. Thank you for listening, be kind, and goodbye from Protea Conversations.